Hello, everyone. I want to tell us an unusual story of compassion, a story that shows that all creatures have been blessed with the opportunity to help people out in their little way. The twist in this story is that I'm not about to tell you of a human. I am about to tell you how a dog became a savior. You'll be shocked, just like this hostess was when she learned who a dog used to carry food to every evening. Brittany grew up with dogs and cats as pets in her home. However, her fancy for dogs grew when one of their dogs sensed that Brittany's mother had cancer. The dog kept on putting her nose onto her mother's nose where the cancer was. The unusual act of the dog made Brittany's mother go for a checkup, and this was when it was discovered that she had cancer. This unusual act of the dog saved Brittany's mother's life, and Brittany never stopped loving dogs, and this love was shared by other family members. Brittany came from a poor family, and she had 2 siblings. They lived with their parents in a small apartment. It was in this same apartment that they took care of dogs and cats. Her parents strived, but they never had the opportunity to send Brittany and her siblings to a decent school. Brittany, being the eldest, started looking for a job since she clocked 17, so she could fend for herself and her family, but she never got employed until she was 18. Brittany got a job as a hostess in a restaurant. The job was easy for Brittany to maintain because she was loving and respectful to all the customers of the restaurant. Her personable qualities got even more customers for the restaurant. Brittany loved those she worked for. She loved those she worked with and also the customers. She equally treated every one of them with respect, and this in turn made everyone love her. The pay from Brittany's job as a hostess was used to fend for her family mostly, and soon her siblings started working too, and the financial burden reduced on Brittany. When Brittany was 21, she lost her father to an accident, and soon her mother fell sick too. Brittany and her siblings took care of their mother, but a year and a half after their father's death, their mother also died. The death of their mother was painful, and Brittany decided to move out of where she stayed to another city. However, Brittany's sisters never left, and the dogs and cats were left in their care. In the new city, Brittany also got a job as a hostess in a restaurant. The knowledge she gained from her previous job helped her in the new one. She longed to get a dog, but was unable to because her work schedule was tight, and it didn't allow her to adequately take care of any. She worked diligently and was loved where she worked. One fateful evening, Brittany saw a dog rummaging through the bin of the restaurant. Her heart went out to the dog immediately as she sensed the dog wanted food. She rushed back into the kitchen and dished out food for the dog. She returned and placed the food in front of the dog, but the dog refused to eat the food. However, the dog stayed with the food while its gaze never left Brittany. Brittany then decided to pack the food for the dog. Surprisingly, the dog took off with the food the moment Brittany dropped the food. She was surprised at the act of the dog, but she never dwelled on it. The next evening, Brittany saw the same dog where she saw it the previous day, but the dog wasn't looking through the bin this time around. It was waiting perfectly for Brittany because it wagged its tail to show its happiness when the dog saw Brittany. Brittany gave the dog food also in a plate, expecting it to eat there, but she was met with the same reaction the dog gave the previous day. She then packed the food again like she did the previous day and watched the dog dash off with the food. This routine of Brittany packing food for the dog every evening and the dog leaving with the food continued for weeks, without Brittany reading any significance into it. Brittany started considering herself the owner of the dog even though the dog never lived with her, but she was happy they had established a relationship. One day, Brittany, in her usual act, dropped packed food for the dog and watched it leave with the food. That moment, it struck Brittany that the dog had never eaten in her presence. There and then, Brittany became curious about whoever or wherever the dog was taking the food to. Brittany imagined that maybe the dog had puppies that it used to feed, but she needed to know so she could determine if what she used to pack for the dog was enough. She then decided she was going to follow the dog the next day to figure out the reason behind its action. The next day in the evening, Brittany had already packed the dog's food before it got to her place, and she waited patiently on the dog. She already asked for permission to be excused from her boss. Brittany waited for a few minutes, and soon the dog arrived. She dropped its packed food and watched it dash off. She immediately followed the dog. The journey was a short one because soon the dog arrived in a bungalow and entered. Brittany pressed on the ringer but was met with silence. Brittany was confused about what her next action should be, but after much internal deliberation, she decided to enter and was shocked at what she saw, because her sight wasn't met with puppies, but a human being. In the house was a girl that Brittany imagined would be 7 years, dishing the food Brittany had packed for the dog for herself and the dog. The dog and the girl didn't know they had already had a third party, but Brittany watched in fascination, the happiness they both shared. She wondered where the other members of the girl's family were, and she was on this thought when the dog and the young girl noticed Brittany. Brittany moved towards the girl, but the girl retracted in fear and was about to scream when the dog moved towards Brittany and laid at her feet to communicate to the girl that Brittany wasn't an enemy. She waited until they had finished their meal before she asked the girl about her parents. The girl explained to her that they had died and she had gotten abandoned by family members. Also, she stated she was 8 years old and that the only family she had was the dog. Brittany realized the girl had fallen sick, and that was why the dog had become the one looking for how to feed both of them. Brittany's shock knew no bounds, as she had never imagined that a dog would have developed a sense of responsibility to cater for itself and its owner. However, she was happy that she never turned the dog away all the times the dog had come to the restaurant, and that she had the sense to pack the food for the dog. Brittany decided she was going to take care of the dog and the girl from the little she made. Brittany, who couldn't keep her newfound knowledge to herself, shared the story of the dog and the girl with those she worked with, as well as people that came to the restaurant. Soon, everyone wanted to meet the dog and the girl. People decided to join Brittany in taking care of the girl and the dog, and this was how the compassionate act of a dog changed the life of the dog, the girl, and Brittany. Friends, were you expecting to find out that the dog carried food to its puppies like the hostess? Are you equally shocked at the good act of the dog? Do share with us your thoughts on this story by making use of the comment section while also sharing and liking the video.